Just how will the U.S. economy hold up this year? That's just one of the key questions on everyone's mind. Our chief equity strategist and economist, John Blank, is here, hopefully, with the answer to that question as well as others. John, the data shows that real GDP increased a bit in Q4 2022, according to the advance estimate. Anyway, might that change going forward?
Terry, speaking of February 23rd, we got the second estimate. It was 2.7 from 2.9. So, in fact, the fourth quarter held up.
Okay, we have stubbornly high inflation, though. Do you think we'll see it come down significantly this year at all?
Yes, I do. Shelter costs are the big component that I don't think is coming down, but I think the other half of inflation at this point in time is coming down. I doubt we get below 3.5%, 4% on the CPI or the core PCE, though, which is the problem here.
How many more Fed rate hikes do you think it's going to take to make that inflation come down?
Well, here's the thing. Friday, today's Thursday, February 23rd. So tomorrow we get the core PCE, and that is the Fed's broad inflation gauge. And so what you do to find out the terminal Fed's fund rate, if you just want to be brain dead and not pay a lot of money for economic research, just put a 1% on the core PCE rate. So if the terminal rate right now is 5.25, then we should start to see a core PCE at 4.25. So tomorrow is a monthly report, but we need to see this thing get down no higher than 4.2 and probably down below that, somewhere getting towards 4.38 would be great. Probably not this month, but sooner or later we got to get that down.
Do you think we'll see some meaningful Fed policy changes this year?
I think they've done most of the catching up at this point, and we're just waiting to pass time. We got to keep in mind that passing time is a form of restrictive policy because they're engaging in lags with their monetary policy hiking they have already done. So that's the basic point I'd like to make.
What do you think of the fresh CPI data that came out recently?
I think we should wait till Friday because the core PCE data is much more important. That's what I think.
All right. What did the Q4 earnings that came out this week show regarding the health of the consumer?
Interestingly enough, down 5% on earnings, up 5% on revenues for the quarter. What that tells you when you have basically a 5 or 6% CPI is that basically there's some signs of compression in profit margins, but by and large the economy is static at a high level. That's basically what we learned.
What's I have to ask, I don't like to use this word, but what is the probability of a recession here this year?
I think 30% is probably the right level to keep in mind as a base case, that 1/3 of the chance we're going to get one, and probably not to the fourth quarter.
The results of the Zacks annual CIO survey are in. What are the CIOs basically saying about business and the economy?
They're actually positive for the first time on international stocks, Terry, which I think people should keep in mind. That does speak to a better global economy and a turn in the U.S. dollar rates and more sentiment for the non-U.S. world than we've seen it in many, many years. So I think that's the one bullish thing we can take out from that perspective.
Has global economic activity cooled? And if so, what does that say about our economic future?
It has not cooled, Terry. It's gone up a little bit, and most outlooks are being raised, modestly, but they're being raised. So by and large, the global economy is starting to be a tailwind, not a headwind.
Top large cap stocks from 3 different global regions have caught your eye. They include Bouygues, Mercado Libre, and Cadence Design Systems. All
right, Bouygues. Bouygues is a French family that owns a French company, ticker BOUYF, and there's 6 parts to this group. Diversified industrial group based in Paris. Building and civil works, energy and services, telcos, even media. So why is this in here? Well, I just pointed out to you exactly why it's in there. Energy and services is their building and civil works. They are getting a lot of the infrastructure investment done that was forced on them by the Ukraine war. So here's an example where you could find a name of a company buried in the fabric of France that suddenly gets to a number 2 Zacks rank because it's starting to make a lot more money, and that's being picked up by the estimate revisions. Mercado Libre, ticker MELI, is a number 1 ranked stock. This thing is $1,100 a share. Effectively is the Alibaba of Latin America. Again, many different groups. It is the largest e-commerce platform in Latin America. It was previously had a big minority stake with eBay. The guy who runs it was at Stanford when he came up with this business. So he's down in Uruguay running this. Half of the business is now in Brazil. So this is kind of also a play on Brazil. You've got to like Mercado Libre. Ticker CDNS, Cadence Design Systems. A favorite stock of mine for certain. Zach's number one rank. This company is up in San Jose, and they do what's called System Design Enablement, SDE. So what they do is they come into a company and look to basically assist a whole system of, basically chip creation and semiconductor performance verification for customers. So you bring these guys in with some vision, and they basically assist you with your vision and walk you through the steps of how to do it in a very, very interesting semiconductor context. You got to like this company, ticker CDNS.
Our chief equity strategist and economist, John Blank, on the U.S. and global economies. With John, I'm Terry Ruffalo.
This material is being provided for informational purposes only, and nothing herein constitutes investment, legal, accounting, or tax advice, or a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold a security. Do not act or rely upon the information and advice given in this podcast without seeking the services of competent and professional legal, tax, or accounting counsel. Publication and distribution of this podcast is not intended to create, and the information contained herein does not constitute an attorney-client relationship. No recommendation or advice is being given as to whether any investment or strategy is suitable for a particular investor. It should not be assumed that any investments in securities, companies, sectors, or markets identified and described were or will be profitable. All information is current as of the date herein and is subject to change without notice. Any views or opinions expressed may not reflect those of Zacks Investment Research as a whole.